In this video, I'm going to take a look at WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and what I think is a very, very bad deal. Now, Cathy argues in hindsight, this will be viewed as a very, very smart deal.
It'll be viewed in hindsight as a smart move to have done what we did.
I will put out the facts and let you judge. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. Now, before we start, let's give credit where credit is due. A lot of this is based on a really good video by CNBC on the economics of the WNBA. And I just took it a step further. When I do the math, it looks like the WNBA has left $130 million on the table just by bad management. Again, I will let you be the judge, but I sort of need to take a backward step to sort of outline what has transpired and led to this. When the WNBA was created in 1996, it was entirely owned, all the teams, by the NBA. However, this changed in 2002 when WNBA teams were sold to third parties or NBA teams. So of the current WNBA teams, 5 are owned by their corresponding NBA team, if you like. That would be the Fever, the Lynx, the Liberty, the Mercury, and the Mystics. The new 2 expansion teams, the Toronto team and the Golden State team as well, they're tied to their NBA brethren as well. The remaining teams are owned by outside parties. For example, the Chicago Sky are owned by Michael Alter. The Las Vegas Aces are owned by NFL owner Mark Davis. And essentially, the WNBA team owners split the revenues 50-50 with the NBA. And that includes the TV deal, sponsorship deals, and the merchandise. So all of that was split 50-50. So for example, the TV deal was paying the WNBA, or was paying annually, $60 million. So essentially the NBA would get a $30 million cut and the NBA would get a $30 million cut. And then the WNBA divided that $30 million amongst the 12 teams. So each team would receive roughly $2.5 million from the TV deal that is in place. Now, this changed in 2002. Cathy Engelbert said, hey, we need more money to invest in the WNBA. She went seeking investors, high-profile investors, like Mickey and Nick Arison, who own the Miami Heat, and they're in the cruise ship industry. Them and a whole bunch of others, they raised $75 million. And basically, to get that $75 million, the WNBA and NBA gave up a 16% stake. Essentially, the WNBA now only owns 42% and the NBA 42% as well. Now, Cathy Engelbert says, hey, this was required. It allowed us to upgrade our digital platform, and as well, we were able to bring more people in the WNBA front office to make our league better.
So, Commissioner, the league raised $75 million in February from investors. So what is the plan for the allocation of those funds?
Yeah, so first, a capital raise, when you raise capital, it is to invest in innovation, digital, globalizing the game, higher player pay. There's like a lot of things that we have planned for that. Marketing, which is important, building rivalries. Some of the things we did at All-Star, we did our first WNBA Live Outdoor Festival. So a lot of things that we're trying to do to, look at every consumer and fan touch point and also grow the league. And by the way, just to raise capital at the size and scale that we did is a huge vote of confidence in the league, in women's sports, in the WNBA, to have investors like former Secretary, Condoleezza Rice and Michael Dell, and business people, and half of our current owners that also invested, including the LA Sparks ownership group. So it's just an amazing thing that we were able to accomplish. But now you have to deploy it over usually 3 to 5 years, and you start to see that return. So that's what we started to do. We're doing more ad buys, media, more marketing of players. We'll have about over 1.5 million of money that will pay players to market the WNBA in the off season. So hopefully you'll see us more in the off season, especially their season ending a little earlier because of the FIBA World Cup today. So that's, I know that was a lot, but that's some of the stuff we're deploying the capital against.
But any music artist will tell you selling off your rights like that or giving up a stake is a dangerous game. We've all seen Shark Tank and the consequences, how they're always trying to buy in the business and they're trying to make money. And these investors did quite well. Just based on, let's say, 2024, TV paid out 60 million. So the take of that, instead of them taking 30 million each, the NBA and WNBA, no, they took 25.2 million. And of that 25.2 million, for the WNBA side, that was divided amongst 12 teams, so each team got 2.1 million. The investors, though, after the NBA took their 25.2 and the WNBA 25.2, of that 60 million, the investors received 9.6 million roughly. And that is not great in my opinion, but it is going to get worse because obviously the NBA signed a new TV deal, which the WNBA, they decided how much to give the WNBA, which was approximately 2.2 billion over 11 years. And it's like, wow, how much money. It could be argued that deal was actually undervalued, but I'm not going to go into that here. The main point is annually for the next 11 years, the WNBA and NBA will be paid out every year essentially $84 million. Now, the WNBA, of course, has to split that amongst the 12 teams. As expansion goes up, the expansion team these teams pay helps offset the TV money they're going to get. But essentially that 84 million divided by 12 at this stage would be 7 million. The NBA obviously gets their full 84 million and the investors do quite well. They will get 32 million a year. Over the lifetime of the 11-year contract, they will make 352 million. Now, I put that in the return on investment calculator, and I'm showing that they get a 369% ROI on that initial investment, essentially making 15% off of it. Now, what did the WNBA lose? Well, if you take that 352 million that they're handing over to the investors, essentially divide that by 2, you get 176 million that was supposed to go to the WNBA and 176 million that was supposed to go to the NBA as well. For the WNBA side, you would minus 37.5 million from that initial money that you got. You subtract that, and I'm not even adding like the 10 million they got over the previous few years in the merchandise and everything else. It is just a dog of a deal, but overall, just from the TV money, they've lost around 130 million. And the interesting thing is, we don't know details of this deal. Does it go into perpetuity, forever, essentially? And did they have to seek approval on this deal from the Players Association? So am I just being unfair for blaming Kathy? Probably so, because as well, the NBA, they should have known better, as they had a terrible deal with the old ABA club, the Spirit. The 4 teams that were allowed to join the NBA, I think it was the New Jersey team, maybe the Denver Nuggets. There were 2 others. Basically, the Spirit got 1/5 or 1/7 of their TV revenue in perpetuity, forever essentially, as they didn't know or didn't envision that the TV rights would explode. And over the lifetime of the deal, it just escalated in how much. They just made millions upon millions every year in the 80s once the NBA, just the massive increase. And just recently, the NBA bought out their rights for like 500 million because they didn't want those. It was like 2 brothers that ran the Spirit team. The NBA did not want them to get a cut of the new TV deal, and they finally just upped and gave them 500 million to get out, to get them away and not have any access to the rights henceforth. So for the NBA to give up 8% and the WNBA to give up 8%, and again, I don't know how long they're giving up that money for. I assume that they're bought in forever for that 75 million. That is just crazy, and I cannot believe they made that mistake. And this will be part of the massive fight when the labor deal comes up at the end of next season, at the end of 25, because the players feel like they should be paid more because more people are watching the game. But you have a large segment of NBA owners that aren't invested in the WNBA. They don't have ownership stakes, and they've been losing money for years and years on the WNBA, and they're like, when are we going to get paid back? We're never going to get paid back. We want to hold salaries down so we have a chance to make money off this money pit that we've been investing in for years. Like one of the biggest outspoken owner of this is Corse Dolan from the New York Knicks, and some of the other owners are privately egging him on and saying, yes, hold them accountable for this. I don't know what the long-term solution is. I wonder potentially if at some stage the NBA might be willing to give up their stake in the WNBA. Hey, WNBA, we'll give you our 42%, but we no longer are responsible for your 10 million losses every year. Some sort of buyout formula or something like that where the WNBA owns itself, because right now it's just a weird mix of 3 different groups owning the WNBA, and you cannot have one clear structure. And you can see that's going to be a problem moving forward. And then you can already see some of the inequality in the WNBA. You have rich owners like the New York Liberty, that the owners are well financed, obviously. In addition, their local TV deals are better because they have a bigger market, where in the WNBA is turning into a have not sort of system, almost like Major League Baseball, but even worse than that, because they don't have even the salary cap tax, which helps bring the lower markets. They get a percentage of when the rich teams go over the tax, they get some of that. I think that's the thing the NBA has as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the labor agreement plays out. And I'm just really surprised that nobody's pointed out the issue with this deal and how bad it was for the WNBA in the long term. I mean, essentially, it would have been so much better off just borrowing the money from the NBA and then repaying that loan versus the money they were getting from the TV deal, or working out some sort of arrangement like this. But to give up 8% forever, and in total both sides giving up 16%, is just crazy. Now it's over to you, your thoughts, your comments. Do you think, like me, this was a bad deal for the WNBA and NBA, or do you agree with Kathy and think in hindsight over time this deal, or the $75 million they took, will be looked on as brilliant in hindsight? Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.